Hey, welcome on in, guys. It's Tobin here with you. And thanks for checking out the channel. If you guys could, please subscribe. That'd mean a lot to me. I appreciate you guys stopping by. So, Miami Dolphins, they are in the thick of things. They are in the midst of training camp, getting ready for preseason game number 2 against the Washington Commanders. Got some joint practices coming on up. Oh, man. Like I talked about this last week. It does suck. It feels like the story every day is who is not out there. Some lingering injuries. Aaron Brewer. Ethan Bonner has a concussion, although it seems like it may have a pretty quick turnaround, according to Barry Jackson, who spoke to his agent. Jalen Waddle's been out for a little bit now, and that was the one that was a little concerning because I feel like all the rage early on in camp, he's healthy. He's going into a healthy year. This is going to be a healthy Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle was the star of camp. And then all of a sudden you don't see him for a few days. You're just like, you get a little bit wondering like, all right, where it is. And then you also have to remind yourself, holy crap, the season's still a month away. So it's just kind of that fine line, man. It's that fine line of trying to figure out like, what do you give appropriate concern to, and then what is the things that you could just like brush aside for right now? You don't really know. The team did cut Tier Tart today, which is twofold. One, they're going to be like, well, he was one of the guys they brought in to replace Christian Wilkins. On the other side of that, they did end up getting Calais Campbell in the midst of that, so it makes it less of a necessity. And then on plus of it, some of the young guys stepping up. Isaiah Mack, Deshaun Hand, Brandon Peely. So maybe they'll be all right. This is not this becomes an expendable thing. They have the guys that they want to give the reps to. The word was didn't exactly give balls to the wall effort all the time. So you go with the younger, hungrier guys in this brutal Miami Heat to deal with it. But I think the thing that was most fascinating today that came out of practice were comments from Tua Tagovailoa. And Tua had some things to say about Odell Beckham Jr. that were a little bit eyebrow-raising. And here's the thing with Tua. He reminds me a little bit of Goran Dragic. And if you guys don't know what I mean by that is Goran Dragic on the Miami Heat, the Heat are very secretive. They're top-notch Fort Knox when it comes to secrets, and especially injuries. And Mike McDaniel, for as forthcoming as he is, he's very Mr. It's vague. There's no timelines. Today's the most important day, but doesn't want to be revealing any of that stuff. So every once in a while, you need a player who's got a little bit of loose lips to give you a sense of where things are at, because with Odell Beckham Jr., no real sense of it. We just know that Mike McDaniel said that he is not coming off the pup. We got the great news, the one positive news of the week, and I think is probably the best news of camp is Jalen Phillips is back. But Odell Beckham Jr., who was their star offensive acquisition, is still not out there. And then Tua today was asked about where things stand with him, and I'll let you listen to the answers. He was asked by Adam Beasley about where things are with Odell Beckham, and he's like, well, I don't really get a sense of things until he's out here running routes yet.
Have you had a chance to throw with Odell some? I know he's not able to practice.
Yeah, I got to throw with him some. Not routes wise, but just him spot catching, him getting to see the way the ball spins, get a feel of it. So
what gives you confidence that you guys will be able to hit the ground running when he comes back?
Well, I tell you what, I think it's more confidence for him once he's able to start running and catching balls, and seeing it in that sense with guys across from him. Then also, it's a whole nother thing to do that. Then also he has to know, okay, where to line up and then what that play is, if he has emotion or if he doesn't have emotion. So that's where I think will be one of the tougher parts. And it's not just for him, it's for everyone and anyone trying to get to know the playbook in this offense. It is tough.
So there you go. Some honesty from Tua that, we won't really get a sense of how Odell is going to fit in here until we get to the point where, he's out there actually doing it. And yeah, you just don't know. Like, all right, he's basically just sit there and he's played catch with Tua. He hasn't ran routes. He apparently can't run routes. And he can't really say where he's going to fit in the offense until he's out there running routes.
Where do you see OBJ fitting into this offense when he finally gets?
Well, I got to see catching and running routes with our guys first and getting into the mix first before I can say anything. What I can tell you, though, is the guys out there, they've been working their ass off in this heat, and, they've been studying, and it's, like I said, it's not an easy offense to learn. So, I just want to commend the guys that are out there. It's hard because there's a lot of guys that are also down, too. So the guys that are out there right now, I really commend them for what they're doing. So hopefully we can, God willing, we can stay healthy and continue to stay healthy throughout this year for all of our positions.
Yes, and of course, that is the important thing, is that when it is the regular season, that is when it is most important. And look, I do think this is a little less dire than the Jalen Phillips situation because they really could slow roll Odell. They don't need Odell right out of the gate. I do think that, like you said, hopefully willing, Jalen Waddle will be good to go. We know he's had a tremendous camp. We know he knows Tua like the back of his hand. He knows the offense. Tyreek Hill's Tyreek Hill. The running game and the running back room looks as stacked as ever. You sprinkle in there what they got in the tight end room. You see Jonnu Smith there today making sick catches. They're doing more of that, him in the backfield reverses today in practice, which they've been tinkering with and toying with in practice so far this year. They can weather the storm without Odell Beckham for sure. It's not as a dire situation as it felt like with Jalen Phillips, where it was like, no Jalen Phillips, no Bradley Chubb, Shaq Barrett retired. We're going to get Emmanuel Ogbah. Hey, can the rookies help? Hey, remember the guy from Hard Knocks last year? Maybe this will work out. There's still an air of mystery over that, right? That's not completely solved yet, but I think every Dolphin fan, everybody in that locker room would feel that they have enough, even without Odell Beckham Jr., that if they come into the first month of the season and he's still not there, and I don't know, like it's kind of a murky thing. We don't really have answers. We see him there on the sidelines. There hasn't been much of a window into it. The only time I've seen Odell Beckham, quite frankly, is when I was watching Love Island and Cordell Beckham won the show with Serena. And they say they're coming to a Dolphins game, which I'm very excited about. And OBJ was, chimed in on an episode. And so you got to see him zoom in. And that was very exciting for me. Great season of Love Island. One that really changed the game, I got to be honest with you. But aside from Love Island, this is not like I want Tua to go out and recouple with the new number one wide receiver. This is his Casa Amor. This is supposed to be his fling elsewhere, because we already know he's got the great chemistry with Cheetah and Waddle, and we know that that's not broken. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But everybody came into this year thinking like, is there going to be a little extra something, a little extra diversity? What about in the red zone? How are we going to work this thing? And Odell Beckham felt like that was going to be a real help to some of that stuff, knowing his pedigree, his propensity for big catches. Guy's been on the biggest stage since he's basically walked into the league. So you get some more of that savvy, more of that veteran presence that you're going to bring into it. It's just it's just tough with the air of mystery. And then like the only window you get into it is like Tua being like, well, he's not even really out here running routes yet. I don't really know. I haven't, he's not out here in the mix of things. And you're just like, yeah, he's not. This isn't going to be a Will Fuller situation, is it? This isn't going to be like, hey, surprise, never happened. I don't think so. I think that they would be more forthright if that was the case. But yeah, that was just again, like this is one of those things where you the antenna just kind of go up with this. Now, I will say on the positive end with things, the Aaron Brewer injury, listening to Liam Eichenberg today, he seems very confident. There does seem to be a veteran savvy to Eichenberg, dare I say, that he feels that there's no real transition for him to go back to center. He wants, I think he made it vaguely clear that he wants to be a guard or he wants to be at a set position. He knows that they brought Brewer in here to be the center, but that he and Tua gave voice to this too. There feels like there's a very seamless, hey, we're right back at it. And don't forget, Brewer was banged up in the offseason as well, so they not only had last year, but they also had the offseason together. They do have a chemistry together. So that was a calming thing to hear, at least, that this move and this shift that they're going to go to is in a good spot. And yeah, Rob Jones today, he wins the orange jersey, so Mike McDaniel was doing his thing where he was defending the offensive line this week. And, it said that they have, a ton of NFL bodies out there and available. So between that and, you have the performance of Patrick Paul, who, looked like a monster, yes, against third stringers, but still monster nonetheless. And you're excited to see what he's going to do. All of that, maybe it's not as dire as it maybe seemed when the injury first went down, because at least poker face wise, the parties that are getting involved in this whole move to back to center seem very, very confident, like, an extra level of confident with this, with holding down the fort. The one thing that's going to be interesting is whether or not Tua plays. This is going to be a big topic of debate, and I'm sure depending on how these joint practices go, we'll go into that. And Mike McDaniel will probably echo that tomorrow when he speaks to the media. But yeah, I would like to see, Tua was clear he wanted to get some snaps. He said he's a rep guy. He wants to get some action, and I'm really not against it. Like, I think especially, at home, you give him a series, 2 series, just get a little action going, because while you have another preseason game, football is a while away. And here's the thing with Tua that I am curious about. So much has been made about the mobility, and there was even talk today at practice that he was elusive on some certain things and that he was able to shoot. I would like to, dangerous game maybe, because it's like, oh, do you really want to play this in the regular season? But it's like, yeah, maybe just a couple of series just beforehand, just to know what does that new body feel like when it's actually real and you could get hit, because he's not used to getting hit. And I think there is something to, like it was last year after the concussion stuff, that was scarier, because you're like, hey, this guy's genuinely just came off a year where his season was ended by head injury, learn jiu-jitsu to fall correctly, get back out there. Isn't there something to this as well, where you have this new frame you're playing with, get used to that and see what you can make of it? So I am not against him playing. I quite frankly think he should get a little bit of action this weekend, but also I don't want to be stuck with what I got last week. So maybe I'm just being a greedy pig.